You asked for it. Here it is. It's a podcast from Apathetic Enthusiasm.
Here we go. It's time for the show. It's time for Apathetic Enthusiasm.
We're talking over the music.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Travis,
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Brandon.
and we're doing it. We're podcasting again. We're having a nice casual show with our friends live on the Twitch and the YouTube. Twitch.tv/apathetic enthusiasm, youtube.com/apathetic enthusiasm. So thankful for you that you're joining us now as we work through our technical difficulties to get started. I want to let you know, Brandon, just before we went live, you started doing the intro and I was like, nope, stop. And I could see that your levels were not right. That is called learning from experience, because I was doing a streaming ceremony for someone on YouTube during like peak. I'm gonna say peak COVID quarantine, because at least our old version of what the peak was, maybe not the future peak that we're plummeting towards right now, but yeah. And the one of the guests of honor, you could not hear their audio, and I've learned what I did wrong, and now people can hear you on the podcast if I ever shut up.
You've learned your mistakes, and that's what we like most about doing this is every day, every episode, every show, every second, into every minute, into every hour, we're learning something new about our craft. And this is our craft. This is podcasting 101.
Welcome
to podcasting 101.
That's what this show is about. This show's about us. This is us chatting and talking about all things that we're getting up to. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments about the things that we discuss on this show, please let us know over on Twitter at Apathusiast. I'm at Jugglemino. He's at Barnyard Cruise. You can follow us. You're what? You are. That is who you are as a person. Facebook.com/apathetic enthusiasm show. You can find us there. Send us an email, apatheticenthusiasmshow@gmail.com. Over on Instagram, apathetic_enthusiasm. And of course, over on the web, apatheticenthusiasm.com. Yeah, you can buy our love, apatheticenthusiasm.com/shop. That gets you our TeePublic page, where you can get exclusive merch for our Rick and Morty show. I don't know if we don't have any Apathetic Enthusiasm shirts on there, do we?
We do not, but we need to. We
gotta get on that.
Gotta get on it. We gotta get on it. I still have like 50 free stickers for Sticker Mule. I need a new design for. So
let's make some stickers. I have an Apathetic Enthusiasm decal on my PC that I built because I was testing out a Cricut. And I didn't know where else to stick it, so I put it on my computer. Also, patreon.com. Not Cricut Wireless. Come on. One of those crafty Cricut things that, all the cool crafters use. Patreon.com/Rick and Morty Pod. You can give us your money there as well. People blowing up the chat right now over on Twitch with some lovely emotes. Thank you for doing that, guys. Brandon, how the heck are you? How are you doing on a Monday?
Hey man, I'm doing pretty good. This is my second week of telework, which I don't know if you can tell, but that's why I'm not clean shaven.
Such a bum, jeez.
Such a bum, and we keep.
Are you telling me you don't have to maintain a professional, clean shaven appearance while teleworking? Because
no.
I'll tell you what, some people might still have to do that, and I don't know who they are, but they probably did the whole time they were working from home.
Some people might still have to do that. Just whenever I'm on a video call, I just happen to say like, yeah, the camera's not working for some reason. Yeah, so I'll just talk, and then everyone's like, okay, well, Brandon's always having video issues.
Weird Brandon with his video issues all the time. Doesn't he do that like on podcasts? Isn't he like really good with video stuff?
I just don't want them to see me in my muscle tee all the time. I'm
You don't want
working.
them to be intimidated by your massive biceps,
Yeah.
your epic
Yeah,
delts, or I don't know what are
got
shoulder muscles? Is
my
that
traps.
deltoids? Your
Got my-
traps? You're gonna be trapping them with your traps.
Yeah, whenever it's my turn, and I actually do turn on the camera, and I just like I turn my
You're just flexing in the camera. They're like, this is a staff meeting, Brandon. Stop it. You're
stop.
like, check out my guns. All right. Well, yeah, we're gonna talk about things. And the first thing I think we should talk about is how I am a hero. And I want to get this out of the way because it's fresh and it's important, and I think the people need to know about it. I was mowing my lawn today after work, and I'm just mowing my lawn, as one is as one does, and I'm listening to a podcast, and I look down, and I am one row over, and when I talk about rows, you know what I'm talking about. When you're mowing and you like make your little like parallel rows, I am one row over from a weird little blob that is like moving in the grass, and I have a flashback to like 4 years ago when I was mowing my yard at a different house, and I actually mowed over a burrow of bunnies, but it was like high enough, the mower was set high enough that it just like it revealed the bunnies without actually doing them
Killing
any
them.
harm. Yeah, without brutally murdering them. And so I was like, oh, that's a living creature. So I stopped my mower, I paused my podcast, and I looked down, and it is a baby bird that has fallen out of the apple tree that was planted, just adjacent to my driveway. And there was a nest up there, and I'm like, oh, that nest is from last year. I didn't think there was any birds in it. And so I'm like looking up at the nest. I'm like, there's no birds in the nest. Like, I don't know. And I like look down, and immediately I'm like, I can't touch it. I can't touch the baby bird, because every kid knows that if you touch a baby bird, the mother will reject it. Some may even believe that the mother eats it, as you sent to me in Messenger. You're like, did you touch it? You don't want to touch it and have the mom eat it. I was like, they're not hamsters, Brandon. So I'm like, oh gosh, there's a baby bird here. What do I do? Should I put it back in the nest? I start like Googling things. I text my wife. I'm like, hey, like there's a baby bird out here. And as I'm like looking, I see another little bit of movement like a foot away. There's another baby bird just like doing the whole like opening. It's like these are really young baby birds.
Kind of looking like you if you had a beak.
Yeah, just somebody vomit in my mouth. Feed me. And upon like surveying the scene a little bit more, I realized there are 3 baby birds under this tree in different states. Like some fell much further from the tree. I don't know if there's a saying about that, but some of the birds fall further from the tree than others. So yeah, so anyway, and then I start looking around, and there's 2 like parental birds like up on top of the ceiling or like the roof of my house that are like watching me. Like I think one had a worm in its mouth, like, I'm gonna feed one of those birds. You better not touch them. And I was like, I don't know what to do, because the most important thing I had to consider was I need to mow my lawn. Yeah. I need to get these birds moved so that I can have consistency in the length of my grass. And so eventually I like a little bit of Googling, some FaceTiming with my sister. She's like, yeah, I think you got to move it. And Google's like, yeah, just don't mess with them. D-Squeeze, thank you for the subscription, by the way. You are a true American hero. Just like I am to these birds. And I get some gloves on, and I gently scoop the bird into my hand and just throw it in the tree. No, I take the little bird, and I'm like holding it in my hand, and it's like doing like the meh, meh. And I'm like, I'm not gonna vomit in your mouth. That's their job. And I point to the birds on the roof. But I just kind of like plunk them into the nest, and yeah, they stayed up there the whole time. And then so I get them all in there, and then me and Sheena are like watching. We're like, will the parents start to eat them now? Is this phase 2? And so then we were like waiting, and they like slowly kind of like come back to the tree, and then one of them like comes back up in the tree and like starts like taking care of them. And then I go and I mow like my backyard, and then I eventually mow around the tree. And the moral of the story is my lawn is done.
Your lawn is.
And I am essentially a god to these birds now, because what else would have happened? Would the birds have taken care of the little baby birds on the ground? No, they're up in their their tower. They're up in their tower of privilege, up in that nest. That have been like, sorry, birds.
Did I ever tell you the story about when we first moved to Florida into this neighborhood? There was, I'm pretty sure I told this story before. There was a turtle walking on the street, right? And I was like, there's a turtle walking the street. I don't want a car to hit it. And Chelsea was like, leave it alone. It's probably going back to where it came from. Like, the lake is that way.
It doesn't know where it's going.
It came from that way. It should go. I want to move it back over there where it should go. And she's like, don't mess with it. Did it ever occur to you that maybe it wants to walk that direction? And I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess it didn't occur to me that it wants to walk that direction. So Travis, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that back on you. Did it ever occur to you that maybe the parents kicked those little fuckers out of the nest? It wanted to get killed.
It actually did occur to me. It did, because in one of the links on Google, it was like sometimes they kick out the ugly birds, or the birds that they don't think are really gonna like hack it. And I was like, well, okay, but I'm a millennial. I mean, an elder millennial, mind you, but still a millennial. So they're all getting participation trophies. They're all getting back in that nest. I'm not here to pick which one is going to survive. And again, let's get back to the most important part. I needed to mow my grass, and they were in the way. So
that's fine. That's understandable. Hopefully you whittled little trophies for them and then put them up on back.
Yeah, I pinned little gold medals around their necks. I did go back later and jostle the tree slightly just so I could see them like all in unison peek their heads out and do that like motion so I could like take pictures of them, because they were so young, like their eyes were closed, and they like their only reflex was give me food. Let me stick my head up and have someone vomit just some worms or other bug type things into my mouth. So that's what I did. Today.
John over in chat saying maybe one of those baby birds was Hitler. You interfered with the court.
Bird Hitler. Yeah, it's very possible. It could have been. It could have been. But maybe one of them was Bird Albert Einstein.
Oh yeah, Birdenstein. Birdenstein's monster. By the way, Travis, it's so weird that you have a bird story about you being a bird hero this week, because I too have a bird savior story from this last week. Remember that? Do you remember me telling you about this?
Oh yeah, you do.
Yeah.
This is our aviary episode.
Bird aesthetic enthusiasm. Yeah. So here's my tale. I was not mowing the lawn because it's hot as hell out here in Florida.
Yeah, I was sweating pretty profusely. Yeah.
It was evening time around, and Chelsea, the kid, and I were watching something on TV, and all of a sudden we hear at the front door. I'm like, what the hell? And her dog's freaking out. Like, what is going on? Chelsea gets up, goes to the door. She opens it up, and there is a not quite a baby bird like yours in those pictures, but fairly young bird, wasn't really able to fly, but it kind of like flapped and skipped and hopped away from Chelsea, away from the door, and then went into like this little patch of ivy I it started growing out right outside my door, and I just wanted to see how long it gets.
Is it the one that you made your little popsicle trellis for?
Yeah. And then the popsicle trellis fell apart, and so now
Fans of Apathetical Enthusiasm will remember his homemade trellis from episode 184. No, I don't know. I don't remember what episode it was.
but yeah, it hopped and landed in just now this like random misshapen pile of ivy.
I think it's just weeds. You're just growing like I have that growing all over my yard. I hate it.
No, this isn't. These aren't weeds. Weeds are growing inside the ivy, but there's no. But the weeds themselves aren't ivy. Anyway, so the bird hops over into this patch of ivy, and Chelsea's like, "Oh my, it's a bird." I'm like, "Oh crap, okay." I walk out the front door and I see it. It's just like nesting in this little bit of ivy, and then I walk around, and then the mama bird is up on top of the roof, and then it sees me and is like, "Fuck this, I'm out of here." And I go back and I look at this little bird, and it's like, it's just looking at me, and it's like it's in the ivy, and it's looking at me, and it's like, it's tilting ever so slightly, and it's like eyes are moving and its mouth is kind of moving, and it's just leaning and tilting and rolling to the side. I'm like, oh my god, this bird is gonna die. And
I think the way you described to me is like, there's a bird that's dying on my porch. Like this bird is, I'm gonna have a dead bird in front of my house.
So here's what I did. I'm like, you know what? Just in case, I'm gonna hook this bird up.
Put it out of its misery.
No, I know I let animals die on their own now. If I try to kill an animal, I'll inevitably mess it up and then give up and just let it suffer. So what I did was I went in my pantry, and Chelsea's like, maybe give it some breadcrumbs. I'm like, okay. I went in the pantry and I found some panko breadcrumbs. So I went over to the bird, and I was like, just like sprinkling panko on it, because it's like, a mouth is open, like just sprinkling it into his mouth, like, there you go. I was like, you know what? That's probably not enough sustenance. So I went back in the pantry, and we had these wheat clusters, these oatmeal nut clusters. I'm like, there you go. And then put them right next to it. I'm like, hey, if you're gonna die, just die, so before my kid wakes up.
Die on panko breadcrumbs and wheat clusters.
So the next morning I came out, and it had actually moved, and it actually pooped a lot in that area, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, it's still alive, or it's not dead yet anyway. And so I went and grabbed some more of the clusters, and then I was about to feed it, and let me get really close to it, and all of a sudden it like freaked out. I was like, no, I'm out of here. And it had a boundless energy all of a sudden, and it bounded away. I was like, good, go let the the coyotes or whatever eat you. You're not my problem anymore.
Yeah.
Is my point.
Exactly. But look at us being friends to nature, and we'll see how well the birds survive with or without us. Speaking of nature, and cultivating a young and budding life, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about fighting rats and sharing the love of D&D with some brand new players. We played a game of D&D this weekend, Saturday night. Brandon was the dungeon master to the stars. It was the typical crew, the normal three, myself, John, and Kevin. But we had a couple of special guests with us that Brandon invited. I don't know if you want to introduce them.
Yes, let me introduce them, because they're here on the show tonight.
Come on down. No, they're not. They're not here. They're not here.
This is actually the second one shot that I've done where we had new people playing with us. Last time we had a friend of mine, Jeremiah, who came in and played. But he'd played before in some way, shape, or form, And so my brother and sister-in-law, Robert and Lauren, they're married to each other. They're not blood related. Um, like my brother-in-law and his wife, she's my sister-in-law
Who
technically.
goes by the title of my sister-in-law.
Robert and Lauren, they'd never played the game before. And last time I was in California, before pandemic and all that type of stuff, I was talking about D&D, and they said that they wanted to play it at some point in time, but they don't really have anybody to play with, and they wouldn't even know where to get started. And uh, so a couple weeks ago, we had just finished John's one shot with the Gobman Rises, and we can talk about that later. And so I'm like, well, do we want to get back into an actual like long term campaign, or what it is? And I'm like, well, I want to do a one shot. And the first thing I thought was like, well, I think we need more people to change it up, or add something different, because it's been the core four of us for all of our stories so far,
The entirety of our D&D playing,
with the exception of the aforementioned Jeremiah. But
98% of the time.
what is it like to have other players in there? Two other players. How does that shift the dynamic? And so, going back to that conversation, I reached out to Robert and Lauren. I said, "Hey, do you want to try this? Do you want to try?" They're like, "Oh yeah," they were excited about it. And they had no experience with D&D. I don't even think they had like, maybe they'd seen the community episode. But
no longer available on Hulu or Netflix, by the way.
Yeah, pertinent. And so I talked to them and worked some stuff out. We got their character sheets made, and they watched a lot of like they watched some of our streams, which are like, oh no, that's not ideal.
But it gives them a sense of our play style, at least.
Yeah. So I found a story, one shot story out there on the Webernets, and then I started piecing together. I took the bones of that and then started piecing together a different story, because my son, who claims to own my Volo's Guide to Monsters book, I remember telling him a couple of months ago. He asked, "Can I help you write your next story?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, yeah." And he remembered that I had forgotten up until that time. And so he picked a couple of monsters that I was like, "Oh, these are so strong," but I'm keeping my promise, so I'm going to put them in a story, which is great because it forced me to rewrite a story. And yeah, it was basically a play on the traditional MMO / RPG kill the rat as the beginner quest.
Yeah.
And so ideal for two D&D beginners.
Yeah. Have you gotten a chance to talk to Robert and Lauren since we played, and get any other like feedback or thoughts? Because I'm really interested. Like, we all started, we considered like our group chat, I think, is still called D&D Noobs. And some of our early streams and stuff, we referred to ourselves as that, because none of us had ever played. And so now we've played for like a year and a half, and it feels like we've got a pretty decent sense for how to do it now. But to bring two brand new players into the group, it was fun for me to kind of like see things through their perspective, and some of the questions they asked and things like that made me think about things a little bit differently, or how we describe things, things that we do second nature now that are not necessarily clear for a first-time player. But were you able to get any other feedback from them since 2 nights ago when we played?
Yeah, well, as is my tradition, whenever we play, I end up staying up far later than I need to, another hour to 2 hours, talking to John about D&D and like philosophical, maybe not that deep, but just talking about D&D in general, and recapping things that we thought about. And so I was talking to them right away, and they said the obligatory, "Oh, we had so much fun," and "Oh, that was so great." You know, they're family, so they kind of have to say that. Um, but you know, they said that what they were kind of they weren't too forceful as players yet, or not that they will be, but that they felt kind of passive only because, and Lauren and Robert talked about this a little bit too, is, you know, they when you first start playing, you don't know what you can do and what you can't do, and um in that testing the waters, so to speak, of, oh, okay, yeah, I can do this. Well, I can try to do this, and the DM will tell me if it's possible, feasible, or successful or not.
Yeah.
Now that they have more of an understanding of that, and they would like to kind of explore that a little bit more, and then like skills too. Um, something that is kind of hard and kind of overwhelming, I think, is when you see all the skill checks. You have your dex and your wisdom saves, then you have your just actual stats on the side, but then you have your like acrobatics and arcana and history and all that type of stuff, and then how you tie that together as far as a character goes. And in um you know, I tried to do some of that stuff within the context of the one shot, but you know, there's there's aspects of that behind the scenes that, you know, maybe a larger campaign would go into, um, like how those tie into somebody's backstory, where you can actually flesh that stuff out.
Yeah, and I think like in a very straightforward, somewhat dungeon heavy, like this felt like a much more of just a very focused dungeon crawler type one shot that you'd put together, which is traditionally not something we've done as a group. Yeah, there's not a lot of opportunity to use everything that you would do in a role playing game where you're not necessarily making a lot of like charisma checks and things like that against a pack of rats. There's and really this sort of session favored more of a brutish get in there and just swing your warhammer and squash some rats type of character, which is what I built, versus more of a finesse like wizard or what was Robert's character? Paladin?
No.
No.
He
Cleric?
was no. They were both like wizards or something like that.
Hmm.
No, Lauren was a wizard,
Yeah.
and Robert was something.
Was he a druid?
Yeah, druid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like the shillelagh spell I think is specific to druids. That's what that one was. So
Yeah.
yeah.
You're
Thank you,
you're
John.
right.
Thank
You
you,
know,
John.
you're right, because like those squishier characters get a lot of their utility later in the game, to where, you know, later in the game, if you're a fighter, you're like, yeah, okay, whatever, get out of here, you scrub. Uh, but at the very beginning, when there's a bunch of monsters attacking you, and then especially if you have an AC of 19 at level 1, then, you know, you basically like unbeatable.
Which I will admit went into my thought process when picking a character, because I was like, I'll create something that hopefully can absorb a lot of shots, and I played very aggressively. I led like into most rooms. I didn't hold back, which is not the type of character I usually build. But I was like, all right, if they're not as comfortable in combat, if they're not as comfortable with spells or things like that, I can kind of be up front and let things hit me, and hopefully my AC is high enough to kind of deal with that, and then they can lob Ray of Frost or things like that from the back lines, and still get the chance to have an impact without immediately getting killed because we're all one level characters that only have like a 10 HP or something like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, no, it's good, and Chelsea and my son were watching on because they were in Zoom, and I set them up being able to map on Roll20, and so they were watching it the entire time up until basically the very end, and it's they they noticed it. I noticed it too. Like, uh, you, your character is designed to be kind of front and center,
Yeah.
uh, and also like the the whole thing with Robert and Lauren is because they're new and they don't understand fully. They can't, all of us didn't really understand fully when we first started, like what we could do, what we couldn't do, and so having examples of like people doing things, uh, and keeping the momentum going forward was you as that character, you also as a podcaster too a little bit, right, to keep the momentum going.
Sure. Yeah.
So no, it's good. It's good. Couple things that I wanted to point out. There's Robert did something really that I really loved in that session, and what it was so for the folks listening, the the whole thing with the rats was the rats were killing some townsfolk, so the town watch sent these characters into the sewers, and they said silver piece per rat head. And so the adventurers going out in there, they meet up, they find 4 rats, they kill 4 rats, and John's character was a satyr, and one of his one of his spells was to create an illusion, right? And so John, being the ever funny person, he created an illusion of an extra rat head. So there's 4 real rat heads, 1 illusion rat head, and everybody was master detectives. That wait, there was only 4 rats here in this combat, but Robert played into that, and he was like, "Oh, my character goes down and is kind of looking at the rat head," and then hmm, like kind of confused by it, and like pokes his shillelagh into the to the head. Um, and I just loved that piece of like meta wise, everybody knows that it's an illusion.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
John's character is like just laughing at this guy looking at this illusion. But character wise, Robert was doing what his character would be doing. He's like, huh, there's another rat head here.
And then in like a future room, he goes and like inspects another rat head, I think, because he
Yeah.
had been fooled before by the illusion rat head.
That's
Like,
right.
and so he calls back to that also. Yeah, he did a few things where he went into other rooms that like he took a restroom break with his character at one point. So yeah, no, and I think Lauren was she was following like what was happening really well, and while what she was reserved in terms of like not sure what she could and couldn't do, like especially in combat and things like that, she was right in there and like knowing like kind of what she wanted to do or like having ideas like in advance. So like I feel like they definitely did plenty of research going into it where uh you never know everything unless you're like Spencer Crittenden or something. But like I feel like they knew plenty to where they could have an enjoyable experience and not feel like lost in what was going on. And I don't know, it was a lot of fun. I hope they play with us again sometime.
Yeah. The other thing they said was just because we were on Roll20 and we had to, we always migrate our character sheets in from D&D and Beyond or wherever else, and everything. Most things are manual because we don't own all the modules in Roll20, and so part of that was finding out the technical piece on Roll20 of like being able to click a spell and that auto rolls damage and stuff like that, and I thought it was interesting just a few little bits, which is like, okay, I want to cast this spell. Like, how do I do that to this monster or this rat? Like you just tell me that you're going to cast it, and then do it, and then then that's it. I'll do all the stuff behind the scenes. They're like, oh, and that's a very small detail that you can kind of take for granted.
Yeah.
Granted.
Granted. Yeah.
So, sometimes that, oh, this isn't a video game, even though Roll20 makes it video game-ish. It is still very free form behind the scenes.
Yeah, I kind of wish we had had the benefit of playing with other people when we first started, just to kind of get that sense of what a game should feel like. The only thing I had to base that off of was podcasts that I had listened to of people playing D&D, which I mean works too. Especially if you listen to it a lot, you can get a sense for how the game kind of plays. But yeah, I don't know. I'm also still a little curious. Like, did your wife have any other expectations of, or like thoughts about the game? Did her opinion of the game change in any way, or was she just like, whatever? Like, I've seen D&D, or like, because if she's sitting there with your son, like, and did he have any feedback? I guess.
No, they watched basically the whole thing up until he really wanted to see the gigantic frog, the froghemoth.
Yeah.
That's what he wanted to see. Though he was super excited about that, and he was falling asleep up until that point in time. And finally, when I described the froghemoth, then he's like, oh, okay, and then he went to sleep. But they watched the whole thing, and they both really enjoyed it. Chelsea really enjoyed it because she liked listening to Robert and Lauren have fun. She liked listening to me and Kevin. She loves John. Just everything that John.
Who doesn't?
Everything that John says, Chelsea just cracks up about it. She's like, he just says everything just kind of just so matter of factly and soft spoken. Like his satyr. He's like, I don't know, just wearing a shirt.
I've got a vest on. That's all I need. I'm a satyr.
Right. Just wearing a vest.
Yeah.
Oh,
John. Oh, John.
I'm interested. I didn't ask her, and I wonder if she would be interested in trying it sometime.
We have to do the big ask at some point.
Yeah.
And if you get Chelsea in, I might be able to get Sheena in. I
don't think it would be that hard to. The only thing with Chelsea is she just has to know that the DM doing all the stuff behind the scenes is meant to stay behind the scenes, and you don't get into the Zoom call at the very start when everyone's going in and saying, "Oh, I bet you guys can't wait for those rats and the froghemoth, huh?"
Can't wait to see that. Can't wait till you guys run into the green dragon that lives in that tower. Oh, that's gonna be the best part tonight, right? Right?
Like, no. And I go into the bedroom, and my son is like hitting her with a pillow, punishment. Like, you're not supposed to break the secret.
Well, thankfully, I'd never heard of a froghemoth before, or whatever the other monster was called.
Yeah,
so
a Dragloth.
A Dragloth?
Yeah. You guys kept calling it the Rat King, but it's not anything rat like at all. Actually.
All right. Well, yeah, D&D was fun, and hopefully we can get back into some more regular sessions, possibly streaming some of those here on Twitch and YouTube for those of you that like to watch along, or catch up on those episodes on YouTube as well. And I'm going to do an awkward transition now and talk about the other thing that we did on Saturday, which was to take off our hosting caps and become guests on a podcast, which I'm trying to think of how many times, if ever, we have both been guests. I think it's maybe only once or twice where we have done a guest spot together, like at the same time. It's usually just you being like, oh, I'm doing a guest spot. I'll mention our shows. And I'm like, they didn't want both of us? Nah, I just know the person. Okay.
Yeah, I do that. And I'm really bad actually about promoting our shows whenever we do it because I
You're
forget
like,
about that.
yeah, we do a podcast. Don't worry about it. Don't follow us. We're not on Twitter.
No, I'm always like, apatheticenthusiasm.com, at apathusiast on Twitter, at Rick and Morty Pod, Rick and Morty Podcast pod.com.
Submit it for your approval on Instagram.
And everyone's like, did he promote something? I think he promoted something. Usually when I go on and I'm going on a guest spot on other podcasts, it's I used to do it more, and I think that was just to like try to get our network, try to get our name out there a little bit more, um, doing this, that, or the other, and also trying to get more guests for submitting for your approval. And yeah, I think maybe I think we talked about like Brokebot Mountain, which the now defunct Blazing Caribou Studios. I think we did that one together, and
Yeah.
I think maybe we did something with Geekade at one point in time. I think that might like maybe this week's
Possible.
episode.
Oh yeah. This week's episode, we might. Yeah, I think we might have both done that together.
Yeah. But this weekend we went on the US UK podcast network to it's what's the difference pod, and although it talks about what's the difference between the US and UK, we didn't actually talk about any of those differences. We actually went on there just talk solely about Rick and Morty.
Rick
As
and
though
Morty. What are we known for? Rick and Morty, guys. 100 years, 100 podcasts.
100 years, yeah. So they hit us up. It's Alex Whiteley, Tom Bruno. They hit us up on our Facebook for Rick and Morty and said, "Hey, you guys want to come on there?" And I reached out to you, Travis, and I said, "Do you want to do this?" And you said yes. And I was like, "Okay, great," because I was going to go do it without you.
I would have done it anyway, but I guess we can do it together. I'm extending you this courtesy for once, Travis.
Scheduled it up. We hit him up on Saturday, and it was really fun. I had a really good time.
Yeah, no, they're really nice guys. Absolutely huge fans of Rick and Morty. So I think they were just happy to have an excuse to talk about Rick and Morty with us for about an hour. The episode is not out yet. We will share that on social when it does come out. But yeah, they put us through our paces. They gave us some challenges. They called it the Gauntlet, which was a lot of fun. I won't spoil too much of it. You'll have to listen to. It's their podcaster gauntlet to prove our podcasting chops. And
Yeah.
I think we did okay. You probably did better than I did. I wasn't great at following instructions.
Yeah, I think you would have done much better if had the I wasn't fully sure on the instructions either when you did it. So
I thought we were gonna go back and forth.
Yeah.
Like I thought, because there were like 3 rounds. I thought you were gonna go, and then I was gonna go, and then you were gonna go, and then round 2, and so on and so forth. Maybe that's how we run things in America. But that's not how they do it in the UK, and that's fine. That's the difference. That's the difference. We solved it. But no, those guys are a lot of fun, and yeah, I enjoy doing somebody else's show, and just like there is prep, though it may not seem like it. There's even prep work that goes into Apathetic Enthusiasm, and especially on Interdimensional RSS. There's a lot of prep work that goes on, and so like making sure all of our recording stuff is set up and everything for the stream is good to go. And then when you go on a guest spot, you're like, is my mic working? Headphones on? Let's roll. Let's go. And so it's casual. It's fun. And so I don't know. I'm glad we got to do it. I hope maybe if you're listening and you have a podcast, invite us on. Let's hang out. It was a lot of fun.
And you say there's very, very minimal prep, and that's why I always screw up the social media bit, because I'm like, I just have to show up. Although this time
I totally had our social links up on my computer, by the way, for the guest spot. I was ready for it, and that's the difference between me and Brandon.
Well, and I prepared for the episode because we're going on to talk about Rick and Morty as though we're experts in there, and I was like, you know what, I want to be able to talk about episode titles and directors and stories intelligently and confidently. So I had all of the seasons 1 through 4, the writers, directors, etc., etc., and that came in really handy. That was clutch for.
It did. It made you sound super smart. It was really good, Brandon. You did a
Thanks.
great job.
Now-
The other somewhat like, I don't know if it's the word daunting kind of comes to mind, but especially if it's not a podcast you're very familiar with, when they ask you to come on, you don't necessarily know what you're in for. So I have a tendency to do like the pre-listen. Like I'll like download a few of their episodes, listen to the show, just to kind of get a sense for the tone. Like, are we gonna be on with Ira Glass, and is this gonna be This American Life scenario, or is this gonna be like a Joe Rogan attempt, or is it like what are we doing here? Is this the morning zoo? And no, these guys were very casual, conversational, and very friendly. So it was very easy to talk to those guys.
I'm very, very, very bad at that. I
At listening ahead and knowing what you're getting to.
yeah. I just yeah. The wind is gonna hit me in the face. It might have some sand in it. It might have some spit or pee, but
That wind might just knock your birdies out of the nest. But you know what? You're gonna show up anyway.
yeah. You and I talked about this before we went on the show, and before you prepared. I know there's a very small niche out there of podcasters who bring on podcasters to give them shit and to kind of like, run them through the ringer. And when we found out there was going to be the podcast gauntlet, I was like, oh no, I hope these aren't like the trolls of the podcasting world. I think those numbers are dwindling because basically nobody likes those people.
Sure.
They're the ones who are like, all right, we brought these people on because their show sucks. And so
oh, that should have been that type of show should have been our Roadcaster competition submission for this year.
oh, next year.
What up, everybody? We got this guy for this podcast because it sucks.
Oh, dude, that's a fantastic. This is really.
And then it's like, hello, I am Ira Glass from This American Life. From
yo. It's time for the creepy.
Yeah. We drop some sound effects. We got a year to work on it. We'll be fine. We'll be fine.
I think it'll be so cool because it also gives us an excuse to make a bunch of stupid little podcast clips, and then just to talk so much shit about us making podcasts.
But okay, this is how the sausage gets made, guys. This is how Nursery Crimes came to be. The way that the show has to run is we're totally bashing on these terrible podcasts, but all of the podcasts that we talk about have to be like the highest rated podcasts on like iTunes. So we're like, oh, get a load of this guy. I bet he has like 2 listeners. It's what is your show called? Serial? What is it about Captain Crunch? What are you talking about?
Serial, more like Diary of a Dumb Criminal.
Anyway, that's how we become podcast superstars, guys.
Do that.
We're dumb. That's basically what our show is anyway. Why are we making fun of it?
Let's talk about shitty podcasts though. It's just kind of an aside. This last week, coincidentally, Twilight Zone, the Jordan Peele produced series, it entered its 2nd season and premiered. And I know a lot of Twilight Zone fans are actually saying that this is a much better season than the first season. There's a reappearance of some classic Twilight Zone characters.
Mm.
We're not here to talk about that show because I still am not going to pay for CBS All Access. But what I will say is that I coincidentally started up Submitted for Your Approval again this last week. It was so weird. I brought on my friend Steve Gronert Ellerhoff. He's an author. He's got a doctorate. He talks about Vonnegut. He wrote a book called Mole about moles. It's actually surprisingly, it sounds really, really interesting. I'm not doing it justice, but anyways, I brought him on, and then as I was talking to him, he's like, oh yeah, the no, well, I did talk to Steve, but before that, my other friend Matt Hurt has a Twilight Zone podcast, and he brought me on to cover the second season, and he was like, yeah, Twilight Zone season 2 is next week. I was like, what the hell? I already scheduled to have Steve on.
It's like a Twilight Zone episode about Twilight Zone.
Oh no! I'm so glad I have that sci-fi noise on there randomly.
All right.
That's the theremin, by the way, for those wondering what kind of instrument that is used. But yeah, Submitted for Your Approval, Twilight Zone podcast. I started it up again. Hope this time I'm going to try to keep it at a pace where, like, it doesn't have to be consistent. I don't need to have it consistent. I just need to consistently make some content and not get too far behind as far as the months going by and be like, well, I guess I can't move forward. And if I can't,
how far are you into the series?
I'm in season 3.
Okay.
In the first half of season 3, and you know, part of the thing that halted me this last time wasn't burnout necessarily, but Steve and I wanted Steve to have this episode that we talked about, A Quality of Mercy, and he, for whatever reason, like, it was hard to schedule a time for him, and because it was hard to schedule a time with him, I'm like, I didn't give up on him, but there's other stuff to do, the other stuff that consumed my life at that point in time, and so did the same with Matt. Okay, you know what? Let me get started. Steve, let's record, man. And so that's where we are. I've already recorded another episode with a Kristen Lopez, who she writes for IndieWire. She's a film critic, and she was a fantastic guest too. So anyway,
right. I'm just saying I don't think I've done a season 3 episode yet. So
yeah, you have. That's how long it's been.
Oh geez. Okay. How many episodes? I think have I done 3 episodes total? Maybe.
Yeah,
one from each season, maybe.
I think 4 episodes total. I'm gonna bring you on. I'm gonna bring you on more, because the other thing is I also decided that I don't need to have. In season 1, I had repeat guests. In season 2, I'm like, I don't want to have any repeats. I want to have them all unique. I went into season 3 thinking that too.
Yeah.
But I don't need to do that. I think that artificially limits me and my ability to pump out content.
Okay. Well, and then I can have you on my new podcast all about the Hamilton musical coming to Disney Plus, which I'm not actually. That's not a podcast, guys. That's not going to happen. Hamilfilm this Friday on Disney Plus. Brandon's stoked. He can't wait. Yeah. What else is there to talk about? What's any questions? Any questions from the live audience? If you guys have questions for us that you want to sneak into the audio version of this podcast, hit us up. Any big things coming up? Not really. Not since Rick and Morty's over.
Yeah. Is there anything big coming up for us?
I'm gonna blow stuff up. I'm gonna scare those baby birds this weekend, 4th of July.
Oh yeah, you are.
Yeah, they're gonna be terrified.
We're going to an Airbnb this weekend. Yeah, because we want to feel like we're going on vacation, but without actually having to go like far enough away where I have to come back into a 14-day quarantine.
Let me ask you a very personal and real question. What is your sort of paranoia level in going into an Airbnb in the state with some of the highest rising COVID case numbers in the country right now.
What is my paranoia level? Let me let me tell you what my paranoia level is while talking like a dog.
Oh yeah, somebody has redeemed Twitch points to make Brandon talk like his dog. Camila.
Is this the second? Is this the second redemption of this?
Somebody posted it like before we even flipped over from the pre-show. Yeah, somebody had already wanted to redeem those points.
Was it John the first time too?
I think so. Maybe it just reminded us.
Bark, bark, bark. Okay, I'm going to use this hedgehog as a placeholder for Camila. So,
Camila's this is Camila's apprehension with staying at an Airbnb during a global pandemic.
I don't know if COVID-19 affects me, but here's what I do know. I'm a dog, and as a dog, I eat biscuits sometimes. Let's not burden into what you're talking about. Let's talk about this COVID. I went and got my nails clipped the other day because my owners don't know how to cut my nails. Actually, they try to, but the peanut butter goes away too quickly because I lick it all up and then I freak out. Anyways, pandemic. What does that even mean? I'm a dog. Thanks.
Oh, that. All right, that was amazing. Are you gonna sanitize everything when you get in there, or are you just gonna hope someone else did it?
So my paranoia level on the Airbnb, like they clean it and they say they clean it. I mean, we're gonna take some white Clorox wipes and all that type of stuff with us, so that's no problem. I'm just more worried about just people in general and like being out and about in town. Like if I need to go just even to pick up a gallon of milk, if that person that I walk past who doesn't give me space, isn't wearing a mask, is going to be the one to give me COVID.
When you go out and about, I just like to a store, you got to run in and buy something. What is like the percentage of people that you see not wearing masks out in public?
It's about 75% wearing masks actually. Okay. It's actually pretty decent.
And has that gone up like very recently because of the increase in cases, or has it been that way for a while?
Well, where I am in Tampa, it's always been fairly good about wearing masks. Like, if I'm going into like the grocery store, if I'm going into like Lowe's, like that percentage is much smaller, and I don't know why that is. Why culturally Lowe's or a Home Depot?
I went into a Home Depot like mid-April or something, or maybe it was May, and like almost nobody had masks on. And I was like, I'm gonna die, but I didn't. I
don't get in those places have the painter's face masks, and so it would make more sense that they have them. So I'm the people that I work with. I told them at the start of this, like way back in February, when we still had meetings in the same room. I said to them, "Hey, chances are, a majority of the people in this room are gonna get it or know somebody who's gonna get it." And so it's just best that we be prepared for it. Now's the time where I'm like, okay, now everyone's going to get it. It's coming. It's coming, and it's going to affect my office. it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And it's a matter of have we prepared ourselves enough in the last couple months to have a stable and effective telework presence for those folks who are on site when they inevitably get quarantined, uh, to still, get the job done.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's going to be the real test of it.
Yeah, and I wish you all the luck down there in Florida, where and really I hope you guys get it under control quickly and people can fight it pretty well.
Here's to Florida.
Yeah. Here's to Florida. D Squeeze mentioning how it's funny being the one wearing the mask and getting looked at funny by the people not wearing them. I completely understand that. I have not gone into a public building without a mask in months, and I would say, like in my experience, walking into like a Target or something like that, it's almost like 50-50 on the mask, and mind you, Nebraska has relatively very low numbers for cases in general, and those cases are staying pretty steady for now. I don't look at that as a reason to just be like, all right, cool, we're done. Throw my mask out the window. Don't do that, by the way. Mask littering is a serious problem. Please don't do that. But yeah, like, I don't know. I definitely have gotten those looks where like people are like, oh, look at this guy over here with the mask. And I'm like, why don't you have one on? Like, so if you're a big anti-mask person, so thanks for listening. But you should probably wear one anyway. And just let's do our part to just take care of each other.
When all this kick-started, and I remember going into a Target
back when COVID had its Kickstarter campaign over on Kickstarter, and they were just looking for initial pledges just for a minor infection in China. But you know what? We blew through those early goals, and in those stretch goals, we've now reached global levels to include the United States.
Go to patreon.com.
One of the most successful Kickstarters in all of history. Millions impacted.
The first tier is asymptomatic. Just, I went into Target at this in March, and I was wearing like, I was wearing a full face mask, whatever, and the numbers were much smaller then, both for wearing face masks and also the number of COVID cases, and it's weird. It was, nobody took it serious back then. There was a very brief bell curve, the tip where everyone took it serious, and now everyone's not taking serious again, even though these numbers are still going up.
Even though it's the inverse for the actual numbers of cases. Yeah.
Champ, love the comment. Hate getting funny looks when he's wearing the mask, especially when he's got the cape on as well.
Yeah, and speaking of masks and capes, I'm almost done with the Watchmen series.
Nice.
I'm excited to have a full-on conversation about that at some point. But yeah, I'll have to get through the last like 4 episodes, and then we can talk about it some more.
Okay, good. And the last thing we'll talk about on that episode is when you watch Eurovision, the new movie starring Will Ferrell and your wife, Rachel McAdams.
I was gonna make the same joke. And she hates that I call her Rachel McAdams because she thinks Rachel McAdams is so pretty, and she's self-deprecating.
Sheena is basically Rachel McAdams. It is uncanny. Everything she does, it's like, that's Sheena. Look at.
Yep. I married up, people. I did. It's true. All right. Well, we can look forward to those discussions as well as many more on our next episode. And if you have thoughts, questions. I really want to sneak in a Q&A episode here pretty soon. So if you have any questions, things about us, or things that we've talked about that you want us to answer on the show, make sure you send us an email, apatheticenthusiasmshow@gmail.com, or just show up Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 Central, over on Twitch, over on YouTube. We are going to keep the party going for another hour or so with the folks over in the live stream. So we're going to end our audio only portion of this show, but if you want to catch the live show, make sure that you are here on Monday nights for the after show. Yeah, and that's about it. Thanks to everybody that subscribed, liked, rates, reviews, all of that stuff. And Brandon, you get the final words.
I want to say thank you for listening, and until next time.
Bye. It's time for an ad break. This is where you have to watch things. We'll be right back. Bye.
Hey.
All right, guys. If you pay for the show, if you're a subscriber,
yeah,
or you're on YouTube and you've somehow figured out a way to circumvent the system, thank you. Thank you for being awesome. And
you can't circumvent the system, right? Like you just don't get ads on YouTube.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I really don't know what happens.
I watch YouTube, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I hit the button in Twitch that says run a 60-second ad, and I just hope that our viewer numbers don't go down in that 60 seconds.
I'm giving us money. I'm giving us money.
I can do that for money. But you guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. We really appreciate you, and yeah, it's you help make the show possible. So we really appreciate your support.
You do make the show possible.
And we're gonna come out of this in 2 seconds, so we gotta make it funny. And that I feel like is the most important thing that we've discussed all night. But anyway, let's get into the live show. Let's get into the live show now.
Let me tell a little story, Travis.
All right. Can I recline my chair?
Yeah, you sure can. And it was the early summer of 2020, and in my garden,
Like, that's right now.
there were white flies on my tomato plants, and I bought some neem oil to get rid of these white flies. Those little fuckers keep coming back. It's annoying, but my cilantro is doing really well.
What kind of oil? What kind of oil?
Neem?
Neem?
Oil? Yeah.
Neem oil?
Neem. Like finding Nemo, but without the O, and also spelled.
Okay.
Anyways, that's that whole story. Still no tomatoes on that plant, but my peppers are. I mean, I don't have peppers, but my jalapeno plant is doing great, and the cilantro is doing real. You know, I was talking about those fungus gnats a couple weeks ago. They're gone. The trick is to maybe a little bit of insecticide, sure, but let the soil dry, and then they're like, we don't like dry soil, we're out of here, and then they grow up and they fly away, and they stop eating my cilantro. Now it's healthy as a clam.
Let me get on your level here, Brandon, because I want to talk about some homegrown fruits and vegetables real quick.
Okay.
I purchased the house that I am living in, and a previous owner, I don't know which one, planted an apple tree in the backyard.
Okay.
And in the front yard.
Okay.
The one in the backyard is like really tall. It's probably like 15, pushing almost 20 feet. Like it's getting big, right? And the one in the front yard is like maybe 10, 15 feet. The first year we lived here, not really much in the way of apples growing on it. And I was like, they seem like pretty young trees, so maybe they're not very good, or like it's not ready yet. What do I know about apple trees? I don't know nothing about apple trees. Last year, ton of apples growing on these trees, and I'm like, hey, maybe I'm gonna get some free apples. I start picking these apples. They're not very good, Brandon. They're kind of gross apples. So now I'm just like, did somebody just plant some nasty apple trees? Like I heard once on like an NPR podcast or something where like when you go to the store and you get gala apples, you get like the different like varieties of apples. Those are all like taken from the same type of tree, and they just like fuse that same apple tree like into other apple trees or something to make more. They don't just like pick the apple seeds and plant them. I'm wondering if that's not
what?
Yeah, like if you want certain varieties, like specific varieties of apples, you have to actually like basically take like a sapling thing or whatever, and like you like cut a branch and then like fuse the other branch into it, and it grows together, and then that grows off the apple tree, and that's how you get like consistency in like the flavor and types of apples. But
I like John says, the old apple tree troll.
classic. Well, time to put this house on the market. Should we plant some nasty apple trees before? Of course, dear. We do it every time we move.
People are going to see these apple trees and say to themselves, I've always wanted an apple tree. I've always wanted fresh apple pie.
That's the thing I didn't try to do, is I didn't try to like cook the apples in any way. So this year, I'll be smack dab in the middle of wave number 2, wave 1.5. COVID will have locked us all in our houses once again, and I will be making all sorts of jams and jellies, my own marmalades and apple sauces, apple ciders. I don't know. Can you make apple marmalade? Is that a thing?
What is marmalade? What is it? What is marmalade? I always thought marmalade was like honey.
No, I think marmalade is like a type of jam that has pieces of fruit in it. All right, someone fact check me.
Okay. All right. While you're fact checking him, D Squeeze says that's how they invented lemons. They are not naturally occurring. They're hybrids of citron and some other thing. That's
GMOs getting you again.
That's
Marmalade is a fruit preserve made from the juice and peel of citrus fruits boiled with sugar and water.
Oh.
The well-known version is made from bitter orange, but it is also made from lemons, limes, grapefruits, mandarins, sweet oranges. This is a word I've never heard of before. Bergamots.
Oh, yeah.
And other citrus fruits, or a combination. So specifically citrus.
Yeah, communism was very against the bergamots, the proletariat.
Yeah, get educated, everybody. Learn your history.
I know it's a stretch with the bourgeoisie. That's whatever. Yeah, lemons. Let's talk about this lemon thing. This GMO lemon. Do you think? Look, I'm not going to look up the history of how lemons were created, but you think that like lemons are like limes without the green pigment? You think you like the RGBE? They're like, you know what? Let's get rid of the whatever whatever color. I don't know how you make yellow.
It was probably some farmer high on his own supply, and he was like, "Hey, I got all these lime trees. What if we mess with them? How do we cross it with this?"
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, "Hey, they turned yellow. That's weird. They taste any good? No, they're still super sour."
These taste better than limes, though.
Man, like,
you know, I've learned to like limes more, but you know, I could take a lemon and I could sprinkle some sugar on it and I go, and I would like it, or some salt to make it more sour. But limes don't have that same taste appeal to me. However, vodka tonics and margaritas, yeah, I mean, limes are a requirement. You don't want a lemon; it's different.
No, if you're having a refreshing summer beverage, which I have not had this summer, so I might need to hit up the old store before this holiday weekend, get me some refreshing summer beverage fixins.
Yeah,
especially because I I just polished off during this episode my Trader Joe's organic jalapeno limeade. This stuff was good. And
Huh.
if Trader Joe's was closer to my house, I would already have more of it.
Man, I should try that sometime. Um, yeah, we this weekend, I talked about going to the Airbnb. We're planning a Hispanic themed 4th of July weekend. um,
I,
kind of weird, but I
I,
figure let's celebrate what the country was founded on, the backs of minorities, and
immigrants, we get the job done. That's a
yeah,
Hamilton line available on Disney Plus,
damn it,
July 3rd.
I won't be
Streaming.
there. I won't
Yeah.
be there. I'll be watching Minority Report on Netflix.
Where you watched that on the 4th, right? Or do you watch it on the 3rd?
Yeah, on the 4th.
Okay. I found that DVD, by the way. It's not like I lost it. It was with all my other DVDs. But I was sorting through my DVDs and I saw Minority Report and I thought about you and your brother.
Oh, thanks. I talked to Brett this earlier this week, and I said they're going to New Mexico to my grandfather's a ranch, and there's not a whole lot of internet or movies there. I said, I know you're going there this weekend. Are you gonna have Minority Report? It's our tradition. He said, of course.
Of course.
Stupid.
What
Older
a
brother.
stupid question, Brandon. I
On
don't know if you guys
Netflix.
can hear like subtle pops in the background, but fireworks are legal all week in my county, which means fireworks are going off all week in my county.
All Week in My County.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great song. Yeah, it's Lee Greenwood.
I don't know if you're being serious or not. I don't know if
Fireworks
that's a
in
real
my county, they're legal in my state.
song. Any questions in the chat? I don't know if any D Squeeze talking about the origin of lemons and the meat bearing citrus. I'm wondering if he got his name D Squeeze because of his lemon knowledge.
Oh yeah.
He's a big
Is-
lemon squeezer.
D Squeeze is actually the the fruit squeezing kingpin of of mid
Of
Florida.
Central Florida, yeah.
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 Like if you come into the Central Florida anywhere, Orlando, you're driving across the state over here to Tampa, you're gonna see billboards all over the place for D Squeezes, squeezable fruits, and his face just plastered there. Right
So
next
many
to,
billboards.
yeah, a
so
bundle
many.
of lemons, a bundle of limes, some carrots, because if you squeeze them hard enough, oh, you're gonna get some juice out them carrots.
You gonna get that carrot juice. Yeah.
Yeah,
That good old D Squeeze, the juice squeezer of Central Florida.
that's right.
Uh, you hyped for the tourists to come flocking back into Orlando so that they can visit the Disney theme parks that are supposed to open in like 10 days or like
Oh
2
yeah,
weeks?
they do open in 10 days. We no, but I do. So we're the Airbnb we're taking is in Orlando. We do have season passes to Universal, and there's part of me that's like, I mean, you have to wear a mask while you're in the park. There's a part of me that wants to see what it looks like while we're there to
Yeah.
to see because we've heard some reviews saying like it is empty. It's relatively speaking, they do a really good job with keeping everybody separate and everybody maintaining their distance. And so I'm interested to see how that actually works and see how
Yeah,
effective
yeah.
it is. So we might go. I have the pass where you get like free valet parking, so we just like can go in, we walk in, be like, oh nope, no, this not happening, and then we can leave again. Which that's kind of risky, I think. But as long as I'm not making out with one of the Simpsons characters,
Well, and they do like temperature checks and everything going, which again, I know if you're asymptomatic or whatever is not going to be a thing, but again, enforcing masks and all that stuff is It's at least a lot more preventative than, the alternative of going to Home Depot with no masks on. What are you looking at? What are you looking at? Chat?
I know. I was looking at T Squeezes.
The book of the sordid Tangerine family history.
He went to Universal. Okay, did you get on Horgrath's motorcycle extravaganza?
Did you say Horgrath?
Yeah, whatever the hell that character's name is.
Hagrid?
Hagrid. I had the H and the Gr.
You did. You had the H and the Gr. There's another firework going off outside.
Oh geez. The Horgraths. Yeah, we might check it out. I mean, we got this Airbnb is a townhome. And it shares a pool with another townhome. Well, we didn't look at the description well enough when we took the Airbnb, because we're like, no, we can hang out in the pool all day, all weekend. Well, now we just have to hope that the other people who are Airbnb-ing aren't there all weekend.
Or you can be like, that's your side of the pool. This is our side of the pool.
Yeah.
And we're dumping an extra 2 gallons of chlorine in it just in case. Yeah. Which, I've heard like outdoor pools are relatively safe because of it's so long as you're able to keep distance within the pool. But
you want to talk about outdoor pools. In my commute, I'm bitching a lot. This is like turned into Brandon bitches about whatever comes to mind.
That's our whole show. That's the whole podcast, Brandon.
The pool in my community, it shuts down like every other day. This time it shut down for a couple days because of mold in the pool filters. Like a week and a half ago, it was shut down because of the water filter was bad. Like, I think you guys just. Oh, and the dongle that unlocks the gate for me to get in, that's bad. So they're doing everything in their power to keep us out of the pool.
Man, those fascists. I have a uneven, non-level backyard and can't even find an above-ground pool to keep my kids entertained this summer. So let me hear more about your problems, Brandon.
I'm trying to keep Chelsea from buying a trampoline for the kid.
Oh, we have one of those. Yeah, I have lots of weeds growing under it because I don't move it to mow. It's like the ice cream machine at McDonald's. Yes, it is.
That's kind of what I keep telling her. This happens about once or twice a year where she's like, I'm just gonna buy him a trampoline. And I'm like, no, do not buy a trampoline, because you're not the one who mows the lawn, and you're not the one who has to move that stuff in the back, and he's not going to use it enough that it's going to be worth it. And so and then we're going to move in like a year and some change, and then I have to take it apart, and I have to do all that work. The movers, sure, but I don't trust them. I would end up having to do it.
Remember helping me build a trampoline in my backyard on Christmas Eve in Hawaii?
I didn't like that.
That was great. Kept roping you into building stuff with me on Christmas Eve. Those are good times.
Yeah, it was good times. But I would like to have a trampoline, but also not when I have to mow around it, and like it's so hot outside in the summer. It's a pain in the ass, and I don't want to deal with it.
Our last house, I was so good about moving the trampoline and mowing under it and keeping it all like nice. And then the day I moved into this house, a tornado went through our area and picked up a trampoline that the previous owners had left in our backyard, and I found it 2 houses over. So since then, my my trampoline has been like bolted to the ground. I've got these heavy stakes and like these straps and things. So the thought of having to undo all that to mow is just like, it's fine. It's fine. It'll die in the winter. It's fine. It's
It'll die.
not a big deal.
Yeah. I sweat just leaving my front porch in the dead heat of summer. So the idea of after I finish mowing and like just taking the bag and then putting the grass in a trash bag, and I'm like, like that act is in itself so draining, that the idea that the thought of pushing this gigantic trampoline just a couple of feet to the right and then back a couple of feet as I'm like, no,
They're relatively light.
no,
I will say that. Yeah.
Not-
They're
not-
easier to it's easier to pull them than push them.
not happening.
Just saying.
Not happening.
I'm just saying, So
I'm not stubborn about a lot of stuff, Travis. You know I'm not stubborn about a lot of stuff. But I'm gonna be stubborn about this.
yeah. Yeah, we played Halo this week. We did that.
Shoot. We did. The first time you played Halo in probably a long time, huh?
Years. Decade, maybe even over a decade.
Yeah. It was how'd you enjoy that?
I wish I would have looked at what all the buttons were before we started playing. Like, eventually, I started like just messing with stuff. I was like, oh yeah, that's how I do like a melee attack. And after I'd like walked up right behind someone and then tried to shoot them, and they turned around and killed me with like a better gun, I was like, I think if I would have just elbowed them in the back of the head, they would have died right away. It brought back some nostalgia, some memories of simpler times,
The thing I always disliked about the Halo games is the melee button seems like it's in such a bad, unresponsive place. Like, it's easier for me to pull up the binoculars to not shoot at anybody than it is to hit somebody when it's supposed to be a twitch action. And I know I can change the key bindings, but yeah, I can't be bothered to do that in the heat of the moment.
It was also really odd for me because I've been playing a lot. That's not true. I've been playing a modest amount of Fortnite with my son because he is super into Fortnite. It is his life right now. And he plays on Nintendo Switch. And then he asked me to play with him, and I can play on my Xbox, so we can cross-platform and play together. And, it's good father-son bonding. But, yeah, the keys are, like, different, and the gameplay is kind of different. So going from getting used to playing that and then jumping into Halo was very bizarre at first. But it was fun. It was fun.
Two things. One is, if you one-on-one with him, would he win?
I don't know. Possibly.
Yeah.
He okay. Like this should be an AE topic.
We can save it. We can save it.
Yeah.
Mark it down. We'll talk about kids beating us at games later.
Yeah, he plays a lot of Fortnite. He's not bad at it. But he gets like victory royales quite a bit, which I think the quality of player has dropped. That's when you're the last one left on the map and you win. Right?
Okay.
But
Isn't your son like 25 now?
huh?
Isn't your son like 25 now?
No, he's like 10. But he's not the best team player.
Yeah.
Like the etiquette that you learn in playing in like as a group in games like PUBG or stuff like that. If we get into a fight with another team and he gets knocked down, I run over and I res him before I go and start looting the bodies of the people that we killed. He goes and finds all the good guns, and if there's time, he will res me before the time runs out. and I have to be like, dude, no, come get me up, and then yeah, I'll let you pick the good guns, whatever, that's fine, but don't. And so he's learning those things, but yeah, he's pretty good at it.
Nuances of society. The second thing I wanted to ask you was, we did play Halo, but we started that evening playing NBA 2K20.
That's right, available on Game Pass.
Uh,
All right,
and
and let me set the record straight, because Have a Good Day Face is not on the stream, whatever. So he was psyched to be playing some 2K, and we actually had 4 of us in the locker room ready to play. And I had never hosted like a multiplayer game on 2K ever. I pretty much just play my player, my career, and that's it. And so the first thing I tried to set us up in was going to put us in a game with like another group where like the 4 of us are going to play against someone else. And we were like, no, we do not want to do that. So then I found a private match where we could all play in, and it was like an all-star game. And when it first put us into the match, I think it put us all on the same team, because it had the Eastern Conference All-Stars on the top of the screen, Western Conference on the bottom, and you could move between them. You could move between positions, so you could pick up like a point guard for the West, and then there were a few options, so you could have different all-star point guards that would fit into that category. Well, we're like trying to figure this out, and I was like, no, I think we're all on the same team, and I had like picked the point guard for the West, and so then I like pressed B to like back out so that I could, because I had already picked that position and was selecting the player in that position. So I backed out and then moved up, and then suddenly I was able to pick from the Eastern Conference. As soon as I pressed up and was ready to pick from there, the game started. So all of a sudden, like I wouldn't have picked the player I was. I wouldn't have necessarily picked the position I was. But I there was somewhere on the screen must have been a timer for how long we had to choose, and I didn't realize that. So when the game started, it was me as the only human player on the Eastern Conference, and then the 3 of you with 2 other bots on the Western Conference team. And the collective play time of the 3 of you was however long Matt has played +2. Like,
yeah. My friend Deanne was the other person playing, because her husband Aaron doesn't want to play NBA 2K20, and she doesn't like. I'm not going to claim to be a basketball expert, but I know some rules to the game, and it was funny when she was standing in the paint for too long.
got a defensive 3-second violation, or yeah. And she's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
"What did I do? Why can't I? What happened?"
And Matt was trying to explain to her, kind of belittling why why she shouldn't have been in there.
But on the
and
same account, she was trying to figure out. She was having a hard time deciphering when she was on offense and when she was on defense. So
Yeah.
I mean,
who am I supposed to defend? And I found out the flop button, which is the flop button is so much easier to figure out than like the deflect or the steal button.
yeah.
To like,
Which you were playing as James Harden, so I think they're all flop buttons, but that's not important. This brings me to a very important point, and that's that basketball is back at the end of next month in the bubble in Orlando.
nobody cares.
I care very deeply. But yeah, that was it. So it turned out I had like a double-digit lead by halftime, because I had 4 computer players and then me as their point guard, like facilitating them, which I got some good shots up. I did okay, but being able to like get on the fast break and then pass out to Jimmy Butler, who was wide open for a corner 3, because Deanne is like running circles around the middle of the because she doesn't know who she's defending. That didn't hurt. That didn't hurt.
Yeah, I thought it wasn't until like 3/4 through the game that I realized that you were only still controlling that one, and that you weren't controlling all 5 players. Uh, I because I was
Did
like,
you just think I'd gotten really good at that game?
holy shit, Travis is fucking good, man. Like, oh my god, him versus Matt. This would be a game I'd want to see, because it was just like 3-pointer after 3-pointer
If
after
it
3.
if it was like the takeover mode where you could control all of the players, I feel like Matt would just destroy me.
Yeah.
I would not have a shot.
And so there's a point early on where I had nailed a couple 3-pointers in a row because I was like, okay, I'm gonna try, and then I started realizing, oh no, it's not gonna happen because Deanne on defense. And then defending wise, I was actually supposed to be defending you most of the game, and I don't know how to defend, so that's why I flop a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Just fall into me over and over again.
I just wanted like one charge. I just wanted to.
You gotta hold that B button to take a charge. That's what you gotta do.
Yeah, where you hold the jump.
Yeah, you're just standing there in the middle of the court, holding your jump. That's
Yeah.
right. Played
It's
some
all-
Jackbox games. D Squeeze playing those Jackbox games. My kids have discovered some of the Jackbox games recently, and I think we have enough devices in the house now where everybody can play together.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've actually been playing quite a bit of Jackbox in the last week. Trivia Murder Party, very very popular in the old Menard household this last week.
That's right. That's right.
But they've been playing the original one, not the new one. I find the new one to be better.
Huh. Yeah.
Just saying.
Very good.
Pretty good.
All right. Well, I think that's probably it, huh?
Yeah, that's
Huh?
it.
Huh?
That's it.
Think-
Unless you guys have somebody you want to raid. Anybody raidable? Any raid worthy streams tonight, guys?
Rateable. The unrateable aidable egg.
The unraidable. Let's find somebody doing something cool.
Yeah.
Mm,
Something cool. Something different. Something unique.
Somebody playing Minecraft Dungeons.
Oh yeah. D Squeeze, you're saying earlier that you were getting into to Minecraft. That's right.
That's right, Camila. See if there's any other talk shows or podcasts.
I saw my master's son playing Minecraft, and he plays on creative mode.
Mega 64 is doing a podcast right now. Do you know who Mega 64 is?
No, am I supposed to?
They're the guys that would do the video game Mario Kart in real life or whatever, or Super Mario Brothers in real life.
Sorry, I'm thinking like the Super 88 system.
No. But I'm also pretty sure they're from my hometown.
Oh, dang. Maybe you should send him a DM.
You know, Toad's gonna DM them. They only have 19 people watching. They're goofing off something fierce. Let's raid these dudes. Let's see what they're doing. So these guys, it looks like they're trying to. It looks like they might have broken a skateboard. All right, we'll raid these guys.
We'll raid them.
I don't know if they're actually live. I don't know.
They may not be live.
They're not really. They might just be showing vid. Oh no. Okay, they're sitting there in a podcast. Okay, yeah, let's raid these dudes.
All right.
All right, guys. So that's where we'll go. You guys know the drill. Show some love. Be cool. And yeah, and that will be the end of our night.
Toodles.
Toodles, he says.
Toodle. I bet two beers and I'm.
Ooh, it's working. It's working for you. All right,
Yeah.
get ready to raid, folks. We're gonna be raiding in 5 seconds. So thank you guys so much for watching. We
3,
love
2, 1.
you, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
And goodbye to you too, our faithful YouTube folks. The 1 or 2 of you maybe that are still on YouTube.
Yeah.
Hope you guys have a great night. Bye.